Okay, it's been so long since I've been over here. Oh my goodness, there's a reason for that. We've been going through grandma's stuff, and I opened up my room so that it didn't look so much like an antique store blew up out there. But we finally cleaned up a little bit, not a lot. And but oh, good heavens. Little side note, I had hoped to do a person in history, and that was Halloween inspired. And because of everything else that was happening, I just didn't have the time. And because of course we had Max Schreck, and then the next year we had Vincent Price, and then of course last year we had Elsa Lanchester, and I had someone lined up, and everything that happened, it just. But I will set that person aside, as weird as that sounds, and next year we will do that. And because I was super excited, but with everything going on my end, it just isn't meant to be. But because I would like to have that be a series every year on Halloween, somebody very. And I mean, considering Max and Vincent and Elsa, and then but that's not what this is about. No. But I do have Halloween it by Dancing Skeletons. I had to have it for this video. Yes, indeed. No, we're going to look at just one person today. I actually did this video and then I had to redo it because I found more stuff on this individual. S Still not enough, but but oh, good heavens. For as much information as I have, I still, like I said, do not have enough. Now, he is a New York newsboy, but for some reason, he liked it here a lot. And so he came here quite a bit. Now, when I was doing my extra research after, because of course, like I said, I did this video and then I found more information. Now, he's a traveler, uh, a globetrotter is what they call him. And so there will be pictures of him in other places, as well as articles of him from other places as well as we move on. So just, I like this guy. I Trilby Collins has competition on this fella. So, and I'm kind of surprised that I had in all my research that I've ever done for like newsy history and all this that I have never heard of this fellow. So yeah, this is just going to be on one person today. And so Noodles Fagan. Noodles uh Fagan, where is the one where it talks about him? It gives his backstory a little bit. Yeah, this one is February 21st, 1910. A lot of these are from the Seattle Star. And when we first are introduced to him is in like 1910, 1911. I tried to go back. I even went to New York papers thinking that I would be able to find something. No, the New York papers, all I could find was from his adult life, which we'll get into. I can't even find his actual name. And it's always just Noodles Fagan. Yeah, and I don't think it's because he's hiding it. I mean, he's he's rocking his newsy name. A lot like me with, of course, I'm going around, like being called bunhead and everything. I will tell the story again. I have no problem doing that about how in high school, of course, I was dancing at the time and I had longer hair back then, and it was always in a bun. And my friends always called me bunhead and or Miss Buns. I heard that one a lot too, Miss Buns or Bunhead. And when the special edition Star Wars came out, we dressed up as the characters. Guess who I dressed up as? Obi-Wan Kenobi. I said that to somebody and they asked, why didn't you dress up as Leia? Anyway, and we left the theater because this was for the first one. This was for A New Hope. And we left the theater and the dress that I was wearing, the skirt, was a little too long, and so I was kind of tripping on it, and so I was lagging behind. And my best friend, she said, "Hurry up, Princess Bunhead." That's how it's stuck. My friends still call me that, and we're in our 40s now. And so, you know what? I have no problem with him rocking his newsy name, his name from when he was a kid. Uh, you know, um, this is just the first time. Well, not really. No. Trilby did it too. And Pie Eater. Well, he was Pie Eater. Anyway, so many names I can't keep up. Anyway, so here's the backstory of Noodles, the Trotter, as my dyslexia starts to come up. So Noodles Fagan, most famous of Newsboys, who has met kings, nabobs, and statesmen, arrived in Seattle this morning to entertain Seattle newsboys. Noodles will be meeting the newsboys through the week, but officially he will be at home to them on Thursday night at the Majestic. Okay, so I looked up the Majestic. I think there's like two or three different theaters that are Majestic. I tried even looking up the historic Majestic. I know about the Moore Theater because I live down the street from the Moore Theater, and I even took pictures of the Moore Theater. And so, and a lot of times what happens is when businesses change hands, they change names. So it could be that the Majestic is still there. It's just a different name. You can fill in the blanks. I have no problem with that. And and again, I believe I said this in the first one. Maybe not, but there have been buildings that have moved. They actually, like a couple of mansions were actually relocated. And so, yeah, it Seattle is not the only one that has done that. And a lot of times they move uh, buildings to save them, because the foundation is suddenly not stable, so they move them in another place and that sort of thing. Well, anyway, so because I know that there is a new Majestic Theater, and but as for like a historic Majestic, like the one that they're talking about here, Majestic is a very common name for a theater. So kind of like Paramount. Anyway, so all of them in the city are invited to attend the second performances of at the Majestic on Thursday night, where they will be entertained by Noodles, and at the same time help him to entertain. He's a vaudeville star. Um, this is something I came across because when I was trying to find his real name, uh, Fagan, the last name Fagan was a common last name in entertainment. There was like a Raymond Fagan who had a band. I came across quite a few pictures of him, and there was a Barney Fagan and his partner. I think they were husband and wife, which is not uncommon in um, the entertainment world, there was Adelaide and Hughes. They were very famous. I actually colorized a picture. I discontinued it, but there's a famous picture because their routine that was very popular was cat and canary. She was her outfit, her because she was a ballerina, and her outfit was, of course, a feather tutu, and he was dressed as the cat. I'm sure you've seen it. I'll put it here. And but uh but they were husband and wife. And Barney Fagan performed with his wife. I think Henrietta uh, Bosch was her last name, or Bosch, or anyway. And but the interesting thing about him that I found was that he was connected to George M. Cohan, which, of course, if you're not familiar with George M. Cohan, he did a lot of those Americana songs like Over There. And of course, the movie Yankee Doodle Dandy is about George M. Cohan. And I also came across, there were a lot of political scandals here in Seattle with the last name Fagan. It got really crazy. And oh, golly gracious, did they ever? I mean, there were a couple of crimes, petty theft and all that. But the oh shoot, those political crimes were something else. So I was like, I just want to know what Noodle's real name is. I didn't want to fall into this. This is a rabbit hole I don't want. But I thought it was interesting with Barney that he was connected to George M. Cohan. So Seattle had kind of a connection to George M. Cohan. Who knew? So on Saturday morning, every school child of the city will be invited by Noodles to meet him at the Majestic Theater. He will tell them of his world travels, of his visits with kings and potentates, and he will show them something less than 1,000 beautiful pictures to illustrate his lecture. When I read this, when it reminded me of, see, I'm old. I'm old enough to remember when this happened. Um, when people would set up, they actually had parties. This is this really did happen. People would set up parties. They would set up the screen and they would show their um their slides of their vacations. My parents did that once, never again. I guess they were told not to do that again. But I can remember people doing that. And yeah, we still have boxes of slides all over the house. It's just sitting everywhere. But when I read this, that he's going to show thousands of pictures of his travels, that's what it reminded me of. And it seems like there's a Golden Girls where Rose wanted to show off all of her pictures and everything. And it really did happen. It's not just one of those exaggerated things that was made up. No, it really, oh, trust me, it really did happen. And especially those pictures that were developed, and then they're standing there and they're like, and that, um, I don't know what that is. And they turn, honey, do you know what that is? Maybe you should have checked before you had everybody here. Oh, so there are going to be guests, and because the people who own the theater will turn it over to him to entertain whom he wishes. And of course, the Newsboys will entertain as well. And again, this is 1910. When I read that, it reminded me of when the kids who were under Trilby Daniels in the Newsboy Union were putting on plays and everything. So I'm wondering if they're going to entertain for him. And so because I think I started to say, and I cut myself off. Some places said that he was a singer, and other places said that he was a comedian. I'm wondering if he started off as one and then found his comfort in comedy, is what I'm saying. It works. There were times, as I've done some history on, done some research on the history of vaudeville, that like with Adelaide and Hughes, a lot of times what would happen is they would dance and sing. So here she is, she's doing her ballet routine at the same time singing. There's a famous I'll try to find it and I'll put it in the description box. I'm wondering if I'll and um when the talkies were going, they did a lot of dance numbers and everything to show off. And, um, because of course they wanted to put the sound in there. There's one where it has this chorus line of ballerinas and they are tapping on their toe shoes. I remember my dance teacher showing us that, and we were freaking out. We're like, she doesn't expect us to do that, does she? I'll try to find that and put it in the description box. But Um, I don't recommend trying that because again, during the time of vaudeville, they were experimenting on all kinds of stuff. Now we have more of an idea that that's not, I mean, shoot, in White Christmas, they had little kids who were not ready. Their feet weren't developed to have toe shoes and they were on toe shoes. So, okay. Let's see. There are a lot of out of the way places Noodles has visited and of which he will tell. Here's a long list of places he had been. Let's see, Canada, Nova Scotia, South America, Yucatan, England, Mexico, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Germany, Holland, Belgium, France, Spain, China, India, Japan, and the list goes on. I mean, he has been all over the world. He had the honor of being banqueted by King Edward, King Alfonso, and by the late Paul Kruger. I know I'm going to say this wrong, of the Transvaal. And I'm sorry if I say that incorrectly. Noodles will be at the Majestic all this week. So that gives you an idea of the kind of person Noodles is. He has traveled. Let's see, where he explains more of himself? No, that's not it. I think this is the one. Is this the one where he? No, that's not it. Um, I believe this is it. Yeah, this is it. Okay. Gotta make sure I get the right one. So here he's explaining traveling around the world. And it says Noodles Fagan, world's champion newsboy here. I don't think I have, no, I don't have a year for this, but I believe this one is like 1910, 1911, somewhere in there. And it says once he slept in cold alleys and dry goods boxes, but he became the guest of kings and queens. One of the most interesting of characters will be a feature of the program, which opens at the Washington this afternoon. It is Noodles Fagan, the champion newsboy of the world. Noodles is a remarkable young man in more ways than one. When a boy, his bed was often a dry goods box, and his meals were picked up in the toughest section of New York. A nickel looked bigger to him than a $10 bill does now. Today, Noodles owns houses and lots and has been the guest of kings and queens. Presidents have welcomed him, and he has, let's see, and he has been, okay, my eyes did a thing. And he has loving cups galore, but he is the same Noodles as on the day when some charitable inclined person bought him a bowl of noodle soup and the tiny newsboy spilled a string of noodles on his coat. That's how he became Noodles. I also saw somewhere, I may not have it, where he talked about how he just liked the dish. He just like there was a noodles dish and he just really liked it. A lot like our pie eater here, really. He's just a pie eater, pie eating champion, and and so the name has clung to him ever since and made it famous around the world. And and see that I'm I'm confused because I have never heard of Noodles Fagan. And all the stuff that I have ever read, I have never heard of a Noodles Fagan. And it does sound like a boxer name, doesn't it? Noodles has made three trips around the world. The first began in 1895, going first to Paris en route to Madrid with a message to King Alfonso from the Newsboys of New York City. I've never, I wasn't able to find what it's like he doesn't talk about, or okay, we'll get to that. Because I'm getting ahead of myself. I will say this though, okay, because in the 20s, um, when it shows him in the 20s, like in 1923 and 1924, there are articles that say 25 years a newsboy, and that would place 25 years, because I did the calculation before I sat down. That would make it 1899. And it says in 1895. So that's longer than, yeah. I also couldn't find how old he is. Now, in one of these, I do have a picture of him, and it's like 1911, and he looks about 30 years old. And so possibly in 1895, he was a teenager. I can't see him being a little kid, and unless he decided to be a stowaway, but even at that, yeah, this, m- I mean, maybe 14. Yeah. And so and you have to understand, I looked for his real name. I tried to find his age, try to find some kind of age. With the Seattle kids, they would talk about, they would have these articles, and we've seen them where they had the articles, they talked about the age and everything. And then to not be able to find any of that, especially when I couldn't even find an obituary for Noodles Fagan. It was like after I found a couple of articles from the 30s, and then he just kind of disappeared. I- Really odd. So, but here we have in 1895, he goes to Paris and then to Madrid, which is Spain, if my if my globetrotting is correct, and he's got a message to King Alfonso. Then he visited principal cities of England, Ireland, and Wales, selling papers in each city. He showed the newsies of Paris how to shout their wares along. I'm not even going to try and say that, but he's in Paris. So I don't know a butcher, and I don't want to offend. He yelled the extras of the French capital in the Latin Quarter. He shouted the German papers almost under Emperor's, Emperor William's ears and was received by every European monarch whose country he visited. Okay, so when I read this, I was like, at first I'm thinking, how did you learn the language? Okay, how are you able to shout these headlines and all of that? Point number one, this was during a time when a lot of people were traveling. I mean, a lot of people were traveling. And so you have to take into consideration that there had to be other people who spoke English and could easily translate for him what was happening in the papers. And it's also possible that he um, knew another language. Okay, I'm I'm gonna give the benefit there. As for several languages, mm, now I'm sure people are saying, really, really, this newspaper kid is really friends with. Okay, I thought that too. And then I remembered the video that I did about Molten Taylor. Now, if you remember when I did that video about Molten Taylor, there was another inventor who also made a flying car. Um, do I still have it up? Because I was looking at it. Okay, the gentleman's name is Robert Edison Fulton Jr. And he is known for, at the age of 23, he traveled 25,000 miles from London to Tokyo in 18 months on a twin-cylinder Douglas H32 Mastiff motorcycles to study architecture around the world. Along the way, he shot 40,000 feet of film of his travels over the 18-month period. Now, he wrote a book. It's called One Man Caravan, and it talks about his adventures where he uh, was shot at by tribesmen, avoided bandits, ended up in a Turkish jail, and became a guest of Indian Rajas. So I'm not going to say that Noodles' story is far-fetched, considering that Robert Edison um, dealt with what he did. And so, yeah. Let's just let's just put it this way. There's probably uh, half truth, half exaggeration. Given a lot of these stories that I've read from the newsies, yeah. But given what I know about the Robert Fulton, and I've read his book, and I highly recommend you read Robert Edison, and who, yes, is named after Thomas Edison, and that's simply because his dad was a friend of, yeah, go figure. But but I highly recommend you try to find the footage. I think it's up on YouTube, and you read his book, The One Man Caravan. In fact, shortly before he died, he did that trek again on the same motorcycle. So, um, but with that said, I'm gonna say that he's Noodles is not not fully exaggerating, and especially considering that it says he went around the world 3 times. Yeah, let's give the benefit here. Especially when now we live in a world where people question everything. You know, let's give benefit here. Because even I was questioning. So we got to take that. Yeah. So Noodles delivered his message in due time to King Alfonso. It never said, I could never find what the message was. I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to know what the Newsies had to say to King Alfonso. What do kids in New York want to say to King Alfonso? That's, I'm very curious about that. What? And and he received a medal. So there you go. I'd forgotten that point. He had proof that he wins. And so there you go. And in speaking of the Spanish monarch, the newsboy said, he is to me the best of all crowned heads of Europe. Why? Because he meets every one of his subjects on the same plane. The poor man looks just as good as the rich man to Alfonso. There is no red tape about him. If he was here, he'd belong to the Hello Bill Society, which I don't know what that is. I'll look it up. I meant to before I sat down here. And I'll look it up and put it in the description box. Um, I've seen him in Madrid and in Barcelona, and he would greet his subjects in the most friendly manner. He speaks good English, and when I met him the second time, there was no kowtowing. It was just, hello, Noodles. Can you blame me for liking Alfonso? That had to be a little odd for for the king to be saying to be calling somebody Noodles. Or who knows, maybe Noodles told the king his real name, but for newspaper purposes said, "Oh yeah, he called me Noodles." You know what? I have all respect. You know, if he wants to leave his if he wants nobody to know his real name, I'm fine with that. Why not have privacy? Okay. On his first trip around the world, Noodles landed in New York 1 year and 7 days after leaving the metropolis. So he came back in 1896. It didn't say what month he left, but he stopped in Australia and Hawaii and was given a medal for completing the tour in record time, considering the places at which he stopped, and in having paid all of his expenses by selling newspapers. So there you go. Um, so it sounds like he wasn't a stowaway, and the again, I'm reading this again. What was he sent there for a reason? I mean, this was 1895. Why would newsboys in New York, I can't remember what was happening in 1895, but why would King Alfonso, yeah, uh, anyway, and it's, oh man. And, but was this also the time when, I'll have to check. I have to check a lot of things. Was this also when Nellie Bly did her Around the World in 70, 70 some odd days? And I just remember people thought that to this day there are people that think that Jules Verne was mad about that. No, he praised her for doing that trip. And no, that had to be before. 'Cause it seems like she did that right after the book was released when Around the World in 80 Days, because it seems like that came out in the 1880s. And this is 1895 and he came back in 18. So it sounds like people knew that he left. and it says that he completed the tour in record time. Huh. Well, and we do have a picture. These are of the acts that are at the Pantages Theater. I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly, but this is what he looks like. I'll put it here. And what's funny is it says Noodles Fragan. They said it incorrectly. And but that's there he is. And again, he's a vaudeville actor. He did singing and comedy. And I didn't see very many where he said singing. So apparently he started in singing, and maybe singing was part of his comedy act. But later in the 20s, he had a partner. And just like with Barney and of course Adelaide and Hughes and and um the partner, because sometimes when you have a partner, it's just for the act. Well, it turns out his partner was his wife. And let's see, where is that? I got so many tabs here. Good heavens. And oh, well, before we talk about that, because I did say that I had a picture of him. Here's a better picture of him right there. And one thing that I one of the reasons that I had to redo this video is because um when I was reading through the articles that I have, it sounded like Noodles had traveled around the world, and then he was doing his vaudeville act, and when he would come here quite a bit, and he enjoyed it here so much from the sound of it. He enjoyed it here so much that he decided to um take residence here. That's not the case. And no, and then um as I continued, it sounded more like he was going to partner with Seattle Star. No, that's not what was going on either. The wording of some of these was so odd that basically he just really enjoyed supporting the kids, the newsies. And because of the fact that what he dealt with, he was trying to raise morale for these kids that worked and and were and there was where was that one? There was one in particular where he talked, and I think it was one of his, yeah, I think it was this one. And this is like in 24 or something. It's one of his later. And so here's a picture of him, and I gotta be honest, it doesn't look like the same guy. I'm not trying to be mean, but the picture that I just had up was him in like 1910, 1911. And the one that I'm showing right now is like 23, 24. So like a 10-year difference. And it, I mean, it really doesn't look the same. And again, I'm not trying to be mean at all. And it has nothing to do with that he's gained weight. I've gained weight. I'm still trying to get the lockdown pudginess off unsuccessfully. So no, I'm not trying. It's just I'm not sure what it is. It doesn't look like the same gentleman at all. I would I'm not sure what it is that 10 years would make him look 20 years older. And but but I like his smile. I do like him. I really do. It's that grandpa smile that is delightful. And now there was something that he said in this particular article where it makes me kind of sad almost. It's it's uplifting, but it's sad at the same time. And I'll tell you why. Okay. So, oh, let's see, where does it start? Okay, Noodles says there isn't a finer bunch of boys in the whole world than the news hustlers and carrier boys. Boys who take pride in their routes and see that the paper gets to the home every day are the kind of boys that get to the successful men. Because the same rules apply all through life, he said. You can almost feel the kind of a town it is, he declared, by the way the newsboys keep things pepped up. He says newsboys are a big factor in our daily lives and are very important indeed to big business. Because, says he, if you hit a town and find it full of live, hustling, yelling newsboys, then you know it's a busy, live place. And that's what puts towns on the map. And he's right, but what's sad is that there aren't any newsboys anymore. And there aren't kids on the on the corners screaming and everything. As much as the Newsies fans try to make it a thing again, keep trying. I mean, even in my lifetime, I can remember. I mean, how many people from my generation played the Paperboy video game, and then of course the sequel of it. I played it constantly. Because it was a good video game, right? And then about the time when I was in middle school in the early 90s, it was like paper boys just kind of faded away. They just weren't a thing anymore. That wasn't a job that you asked for anymore. And it's just who knows. But I do agree with him that hearing the kids screaming the news and everything, it's what keeps a a town busy and lively. It's just too bad it's not a thing anymore. So, oh, noodles. Oh, heavens. And now here's the thing about Noodles is that uh he spoke at schools. And in fact, I have where he spoke or he was going to speak in Oakland. So here's a picture here. And here's where he's young. I didn't have a date for this one. And perhaps somebody can. I looked and I couldn't find it. It says Noodles Fagan, who has been making a great hit at the Bell Theater. He is in Oakland for a week at the Oakland Tribune guest as the Oakland Tribune. He looks like John Candy here. But and it seems like I have a picture. So here's the article, but then let's see, is this the one? So here he is with a group of newsies at, I'm pretty sure this is in Oakland as well. If not, you can let me know. But so he was well known all over, but for some reason he really liked Seattle. It seemed like from what I was reading. But he would go around and he would speak at luncheons, he would speak at schools, he would talk to the kids, and very just like the article that I just where he was saying that the backbone of the city is the newsboys. You know that the city is alive and well because you're hearing the kids selling these newspapers. And truer words have never been spoken. It takes a newsboy to say that. And I mean, how else? And and I also have a picture of him in, I believe it's Utah. So here he is when he was going to speak in Utah. I think from what it looks like, he was helping with a charity here. So, but, um, so when he, like, again, he was a globetrotter. He went all over the world. Some of it may be exaggerated, some of it might not. I'm not sure exactly what was going on. I mean, why would he send a message to the king? I couldn't find what was going on there. I don't remember exactly what was going. Again, during the 1890s, there were a lot of uh, strikes that were happening, and why would Spain care? But but was he chosen to leave? That's what it sounded like at the end uh of that article. I mean, was this supposed to be a tour of some kind? What, why? I couldn't find anything that was tracking him on this. Just why would they track a newsboy, you know? But he made it work and he became a vaudeville star. And like I said, he met his wife. Let's see, where is that? Let's see. No, not that one. Is it this one? Yeah. So I was trying to find more information on him, and that's when I found this article of some of these. And of course, I was finding a lot of the ads. Every once in a while you find repeat ads. I come across those a lot of times when I'm for the Newsboy Union, where they're saying, join the Newsboy Union, join the Newsboy Union, join the Newsboy Union. And um, so I was coming across this where it said Noodles Fagan and Elsie. And I thought, okay, so he has a partner for with his show. And I came across this article that said another bright spot on this week's bill is the comedy offering of Noodles and Elsie Fagan. It's his wife. And and this is where it says they have a rapid fire patter attack of dancing and singing. Now, this is in 1917. So, singing and dancing, were they both singing and dancing? Because by the 20s, he was just a comedy. He was doing comedy. Was that infused in with it? I have questions. I guess I should just accept that it's vaudeville and it could be all of it together. Okay. Well, then here's the fun part. Okay. I then found, let's see, where is it? Um, I don't have a date for this one, but it says the Newsboy King to stage reception. All right. And it says Noodles Fagan, King of the Newsboys, will entertain Seattle Newsboys. In addition, his small daughter, Mary Fagan, will give a special dancing act for the boys. So it's become a family act, which again, not uncommon. I tried to find more on Mary and came across a Spokane newspaper. Again, I don't have a date for it, but there was a page that talked about Noodles Fagan when he came here and everything. When he entertained for the Spokane Newsies, and it had this where it said Newsies to see Noodles Fagan's daughter act. And it says they're going to be at the Pantages Theater, which the Pantages is still there. I don't know if I've mentioned that. And the cheers of Newsies greetings, Noodles Fagan, the newsboy actor, will resound at the theater tomorrow night when Noodles greets his young friends at the second show. The comedian manager have arranged, and it just stops there. But it sounds like his daughter is being introduced by Noodles, and with this act of father-daughter. And so another little fun thing about Noodles Fagan is he became community oriented. Now, did he do that in other places? It sounds like it because just like with that one in Utah, that picture in Utah where he was helping with a charity event, I'm going to guess that he was just community oriented no matter where he went. And because I have pictures here where like he was helping with a help to build a hotel, not very well. Yeah, uh, the Mortar Man, Mortar, he he's a little irritated with Noodles. I mean, he appreciates that Noodles decided to come and help, but he's kind of getting in the way. Oh, goodness. It's like, yeah, but that's not how you do it. And but he so there was that one. There was also one helping with the fire crew, and he actually there was oh, where was that one? So, but I thought that that was a genius thing to do um is to go and just interact with people, with everyday people, and make it a part of you don't really see that much anymore. And but um but anyway, in closing, I don't know how long this is, but again, I have never heard of Noodles. They call him the champion newsboy, the famous newsboy, the globe-trotting newsboy, and he has all these different titles and everything, but I had never heard of him. Again, I tried to find his real name, thought I found it, but found other things. And, his vaudeville partner is his wife, Elsie. He had a daughter who apparently they had an act together on stage. And I'm not sure how she went. I mean, like I said, when I continued to look for more, I even looked for Mary for a little while, didn't find anything. So maybe she just decided she didn't want to do vaudeville. It happens, you know. And and especially Mary and Fagin, those two are so, I hate to say the word, but they are generic. I mean, especially with the scandal that I was talking about, there was a Mary Fagin, and unfortunately, her life ended terribly. So, um, yeah, I did again, did not want to fall in that rabbit hole. It's awful. But so I had fun. I had fun learning about Noodles. Kind of wish I knew his real name. There is that uh hiccup with the time because there were articles that were talking about how 25 years as a newsboy, where they're from 1923, 1924, that would put him in 1899. But he left in 1895. So he was still a newsboy then. So maybe I'm going to give the benefit here, and maybe the journalists just uh miswrote, or so, maybe it's a typo or something like that. Um but anyway, I will close up here.